Okay, so the recording started, I see, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, everyone. So not a particularly heavy agenda tonight, but still some points for discussion. One thing, hold on a second, my computer's freezing slightly. Give me 1 second. Okay, so as was mentioned in the last meeting, Kellen Macbeth from the Housing Commission had approached me about potentially some areas of collaboration between our commission and their commission. And I'm just, and another thing we could do is potentially invite him to speak to us next meeting, or whatever meeting may work with him, if that would be something that other commissioners would be interested in. But just before I get to that, just an overview of what he was asking about. He and again mentioned this last time, was interested in looking into the idea of creating a joint subcommittee that would be and that would need to be approved by the county board, but a joint subcommittee that would have both some members from our commission on it and some members from the Housing Commission on it, that would look into the following areas. They would be looking into how Arlington County could become a substantially equivalent fair housing assistance program partner with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, looking into ways to increase education about fair housing rights to Arlington County residents, and to explore ways to increase the frequency of fair housing testing and the best ways to include more protected characteristics in each of its housing tests. So that was like the main ask, was about looking into that joint subcommittee. Again, I can reach out to him and see if he'd be interested in speaking to us to, answer any questions or elaborate further. But I just wanted to gauge everyone's interest, interest and capacity to kind of tackle this. Is there any interest in? First of all, anybody?
Do you want to make a motion, maybe, Bill, or does someone want to make a motion and second? Maybe, is there a motion? Is that what you mean? Or
no,
do you want a discussion?
Discussion. If
oh,
that's
okay.
something, yeah, because in order to do it, we'd have to have people be interested in actually serving on the subcommittee and put the time into. Yeah, Fatima, your hand's raised.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, great. I usually don't use Teams, so it's a little bit of a getting used to with this. So I think it's a great idea. I think both commissions could benefit by the mutual sharing of information relevant to to our mutual interests. So I'd like to hear more, but I mean, I like the idea.
Mm-hmm. Would the subcommittee be something you'd be interested in serving on?
Oh, yeah, I mean, theoretically, yes. But I just, honestly, I don't have bandwidth right now. I'm already pretty, I may change my mind in future, but for the moment, I really don't. It would be a disservice to you for me to say yes, because I wouldn't.
I'm not just asking. I'm just asking generally.
Yeah, not at the moment.
Yeah.
So no.
Okay. Anyone else has any thoughts about Kellen's idea of creating a joint subcommittee? Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, Bill, this is Roland. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Roland. I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Yeah, is this a proposal to be a subcommittee of any one of those commissions, or just, is it a subcommittee of the Housing Commission that he has, and we would be on that subcommittee? Or is he looking at it being a subcommittee of the Human Rights Commission?
The way that I understood it, and again, it would be, maybe it'd be more helpful just to invite him to come speak, to elaborate. But the way I understood it was that the county would have the ability to create actually a joint subcommittee. So it'd be a subcommittee of both commissions, and it would be equally filled with members from both commissions. So, maybe like a 4-person commission, 2 from us, 2 from them. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, it might be a good idea to invite Kellum to come and speak on that, because Kellum, because when he was on the landlord-tenant, when he chaired the landlord-tenant commission, he did have a subcommittee on discrimination. And when I was chair of the Human Rights Commission, was invited to and served as a member on that subcommittee that he had, kind of like as an at-large member, pretty much, of that subcommittee.
I see.
So I don't know whether he was looking at doing something like that with this one or something. It sounds like it's something entirely different.
Yeah, from what he was describing to me, it would be a little bit different than that, because it would have more than just one member from our commission, and more, yeah, but again, it would be helpful maybe to have him come speak.
Yeah. It might be good, because I know that there's a concern with that commission on fair housing. So that would be tied. That may be his big concern there. So it probably would be good to have him pretty much at the meeting to discuss it. I think the subcommittee is a good idea. It's just that it's kind of, my question would be on exactly how he wants it to operate.
Right, same. And Wanda, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what Roland said. I'm interested in learning more specifically what Kellen has in mind, and if it's something that meets our charge, which part of our charge is dealing with, discrimination, and how I'd be willing to be a part of the subcommittee.
Okay. Angela, your hand's raised.
Yeah, agreeing with both Wanda and Roland, having him come in. It would be interesting to kind of understand how the subcommittee forms and what the process of that would be, and how much work would have to go into that. But I'd be interested in helping out and serving if needed as well. So.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like there is general interest. So after the meeting today, I'll just reach out to him again and see if he'd be available for our next meeting, just to just present on what he was thinking and answer any of our questions about it. All right. Anything else anybody wants to add on that subject?
Yeah, and it would be kind of good, Bill, if Kellen could also address how he thinks such a committee, if it's a separate thing, how it can be formed.
Right.
And whether or not, for example, he thinks it would take a decision by the county board to do it, or whether it's something that just a decision on the part of the respective commissions to form something like that, to do it. I think that would be very important, certainly from a time perspective, as to when that thing is going to be formed and how he wants it to operate. I think how he goes about getting it formed is going to be very, very important.
I'll add that in. From the discussion I had with him, which was a couple months ago, he seemed to be under the impression that the county board had to authorize it, but I'll bring that up to him again, so he's prepared to kind of explain more about how that would work. If there's nothing else on that subject, we can move on to the discussion of the appeals process. Fatima, I see your hand is raised, but I'm guessing, is that just from earlier?
Oh, apologies. Let me let me take that down.
Okay, no problem. Just wanted to
Thank
make sure we didn't have another comment.
Thank you.
Okay, so last meeting, we had some discussion about ways that we thought that we could improve the appeals process. Again, I'll open that up for everyone to, and you can just, again, use the Teams function on hand, or on raising your hand like you all have been doing now, just to provide some suggestions and feedback on how you all think that the appeals process could run more effectively or smoother. So I'll turn it over to whoever wants to start first with some of those suggestions. Wanda?
Yes, I would like an opportunity, if allowed, to be able to review the entire file, all information that the Human Rights Office has beforehand. You know, whether it's 45 minutes, an hour before the meeting, or if it's a day before, at a specific location, whether it's in the Human Rights Office or at an assigned room. But I would like an opportunity to, you know, not just look at a summary of the Human Rights Commission, but the entire file, and review all the documents beforehand.
Okay. And just turning it over to Brigitte and Anna. So that is something that is possible, right? Could you just elaborate a little bit more on how
Yeah,
the commissioners can get access to that?
so that's been the practice before. Basically, that is the current standing practice. If anybody wants, they can always come. It's usually before the meeting that folks come, and there's a couple hours we can come in and review the file if they want. So that's not a problem.
And is it digital? Is that a printout? What type of format is that again?
I guess we could get, probably have to get a computer set up, because we no longer have the paper copies.
Mhm.
We went digital, like, I don't know, I want to say before the pandemic. So we could try to see if we can get, I'm sure it wouldn't be difficult to get a computer or something set up where folks can review it.
And that file would include like I remember from the last discussion we had, it would also include like the actual notes from interviews of witnesses as opposed to summaries, right?
Yeah, I mean, these aren't summaries. It's essentially the relevant facts that pertain to the elements of the claim that you see in the report. So if the person gives us 3 pages of interview notes going down different areas, that would all be in the interview statement. But what you
Yeah.
see in the report is essentially the relevant material facts that go to the elements of the claim they're alleging, the theory of discrimination. But as far, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as in the past, what we did is we had the interview statements were in there. So
Yes, that's correct.
you'd be able to see those.
And in sharing that file digitally beforehand, is the issue the size of the file through sharing that through email?
No, I think the issue is oh, go ahead, Anna. You go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is too large to email. We could possibly look at sharing a link to it somehow, but we do want to maintain the confidentiality of the file, so we have never made copies of it and just provided it in that way. We've always had it available in the office if you wanted to come in and take a look at it in the office. The file would remain there.
And if it would be emailed, the issue would also be that it would then have to be emailed to the to the complainant as well, or the respondent as well.
I think, aren't the rules, Anna, that there are only certain things we can share, which is why we haven't sent that stuff up. Yeah, so whatever we send you guys is based on your rules,
Okay.
the rules for the appeals, and that's always been the case. But it's always also been the case, as far as I've been there, that the full file has been available for in-person, review, either right before the investigation, or if, folks want to make appointments. I think we've done that too, to come in and see it like that week.
Okay. Roland, your hands raised. Oh, I think you're on mute, Roland. You're on mute.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just forgot this, Gertie and Anna, but Are the statements made by the complainant, are they sworn statements?
They are not.
No,
Okay.
they're not sworn. We've never
yeah.
had that.
Okay, so we never,
No.
yeah, that's, I thought that was my recollection, that pretty much in the file itself, none of the statements, so that includes anything by the so-called defendants, are really sworn statements.
They are not.
No,
We have
it's
never
not
had
like
that
in-
practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And Wanda, is your hand raised again?
Yeah, just one other question. In terms of if a complainant alleges, some type of wrongdoing outside of the initial complaint, is that something that the Human Rights Office will address with the complainant in terms of referring them to the appropriate department, or is that something that we as the Human Rights Commission would address during the appeal?
We make referrals all of the time for different issues that might fall out of our scope or not be within the scope of the complaint. If they have a civil matter, a criminal matter, some other social, whatever might be going on with them, we make referrals all of the time for people. So yes, we would do that.
And that's like Wanda was saying, that's in letting them know, letting the complainant know of where they would need to go to pursue those other avenues.
Yes, correct. We'll find resources for them. We'll make connections for them. We do that all. I mean, that's something we do all the time to help people find other resources outside of the scope that we have, which is often not going to cover everything that's going on with them.
Angela, your hand's raised.
Yes, I just have a question. In the past, how often do the complainants actually show up to the Human Rights Commission? Is there seem to be some type of barrier to get them to be able to come, or is there any way that we can make it easier to connect with them, to hear with them? I just know the last complaint that we received, they didn't come, but I'm just curious in the past, how often they don't show up.
In my,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
Gertrude.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
In my experience, it's unusual that they would not show up. I've had in my entire time I've been in the office, which is a long time. I think there's been twice that people didn't appear.
Okay, so it's not really an issue.
No, we make every effort to so that they know when and where and what to do and have all the information that they need.
And Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but we also offered them the ability to write in. And
Yeah,
also,
they
I
can
think,
make a
join
written
virtually.
statement. They can
So-
join virtually. Before virtual, they could call in on the phone. So whatever works for
Gotcha.
them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commentary or okay, Wanda, go ahead.
Yes, I guess my question is more for the statistical reports that we receive and just trying to understand exactly what it means. For instance, the March report lists the number of complaints submitted. Does that mean the Human Rights Office is in the process of investigating those complaints, or does it mean that already submit finding and waiting for the person to appeal? I'm just not really sure what those numbers in that report means.
Did you get all? Was Wanda breaking up, or is it just me?
I think I got
Yeah, I think-
generally.
Got
I think
it? Okay.
I generally got it. So the complaint submitted refers to which we changed sort of how we did these reports when we went digital, which was largely right before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic we had to sort of pivot completely to an online platform. Complaints submitted or any forms that are submitted through our our portal, our website. We have a form online. Anybody can submit a form. It comes into our system. It's now part of our record. And then we take a look at that and we meet with the person. We evaluate their claim and determine whether or not we can accept it. So those are the ones that are submitted. They come into us. It can be anything from anybody. Those are not always things that end up being complaints that we can accept under our ordinance or if it's timely or whatever the issue might be. A lot of those we cannot end up taking them as complaints because they don't fall within our scope, and they might be dismissed at that point. So complaints accepted is just anything that's come in through the door, and complaints admitted or anything that's come in. Complaints are accepted are ones that we could actually make into a formal complaint and file a complaint, serve it on the respondent, and we will do an investigation. So that's the difference between those two things. Does that help?
So, partially it does. So of the complaints that are submitted, is there a separate column of information that you can provide us that shows which complaints were dismissed by your office?
Yeah, if you look under the closures toward the end of the report, it will show you which ones were dismissed or what reason they were dismissed for. And typically the ones that are dismissed are ones that they didn't happen in Arlington. We get a lot of Arlington, Texas for some reason. That's fairly frequent. It was not some other scope, the respondent they're naming is in some other place, or the issues that they're talking about. So there's different reasons, but that's where those end up going out there. Those are the administrative dismissals largely, are the ones that were submitted, but we could not accept it for one reason or another.
Okay, and that's under the closures?
It's under the closures
Okay.
toward the end of the report.
All right. And from those, do we know how many people have appealed, or that comes with that separate appeal report?
None of those would be appealed because we did not accept a charge. Only people who have had an investigation completed can appeal the decision. So the ones we dismiss are ones that we could not have filed a complaint with us under the ordinance.
Okay. I think I understand. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And you may have already mentioned this, but generally the reasons for not accepting, or if it's out of jurisdiction, or if it doesn't actually fall under the ordinance, the claim, right?
That's probably the greatest number, that, or it's not timely, or their issue that they submit is just not, they fill out a form and submit it, but their issue is not anything that falls under the ordinance. There's just some other problem they're having.
Okay.
And if the reports are not, I'm sorry, Bill, just one more question.
Mm-hmm.
If the reports are not accepted by the Human Rights Office, is there any other recourse through the Human Rights Office or Commission that the person could follow, or is there any other avenue?
I mean, well, we often give people referrals to other agencies or other places, or say maybe you need an attorney for this if it's a civil matter that they're sometimes they're having a conflict with another person or something like that. We try to refer people when we send them the dismissal and say, well, you reach out to Alexandria. Your issue happened in Alexandria. You need to talk to them, and go to that office. I suppose they could come in to the Human Rights Commission if they wanted to and bring their issue generally in public comment. If there's something that's sort of just a different kind of issue that they want to bring forward, they certainly can do that. But if we couldn't accept we can only accept a complaint for investigation if it falls under the ordinance.
And is that information that we as human rights commissioners can have access to for those complaints that you don't accept, and something that we can look at?
You would want to see all of the ones that we don't accept? I'm not. What kind of information would you want? to have.
Just looking at the types of complaints and how they wrote them and the reason why they weren't accepted by the Human Rights Office.
I mean,
I don't think that's generally, I mean, something that you guys would be looking at. It'd be like if you're, but essentially you have us to be doing that for you, right? So the commission accepts and conciliates and investigates complaints through us. We also don't have them in any kind of paper file. But one thing that we did do, I think in response to the commission's request for the information a couple of years ago, is when I know there was a desire to get more information on how many were referred out, and because that was a concern. And I don't know if we attracted then, but I think now that's something that we definitely have. So, you know, and you can see the reasons therefore too. But a lot of, I think I really want to emphasize what Anna's saying, which is like a lot of the times if it's just out of jurisdiction because people file in the wrong place, we really try to get them to the right place, because, you know, we don't want also them to feel like we don't want to brush anyone off. And we also know that they're going to also come back to us again and say, well, why was it dismissed? You know, why didn't you take it? So we try to take the time and give them that answer at the upfront so they can get the redress. And the other reason is we also don't want it to be untimely by the time, say it is in Alexandria, right? And if we don't tell them right away, they may be untimely by the time they get there. And then of course for employment ones, if we also tell them about EEOC, right, that they have a right to file with the EEOC if they choose not to go to a commission.
Okay, so I wasn't quite clear with the answer. Does that mean yes, we can have access to that information, or no?
I mean, I guess I'm not sure what information, if you're wanting just the, you know, general idea of what the issue was, or are you wanting the person's name and that kind of information about who it was? Because we do consider those to be confidential and don't, you know, share that information. We keep that as a confidential file. The person submitted the form, I think, with the understanding that it would be confidential. So are you just talking about more generally, like what kind of issue they had that we didn't?
Yeah, the issue, your findings, and you can redact the personal information, you know, the person's name. Not interested in the person's name. I'm just interested in the whole process in terms of when someone files something, what their actual complaint is, and how you respond to it.
And okay, how many complaints did we dismiss?
This in March, I think there were 9.
Yeah.
And they were for different reasons.
Got it. So Wanda, maybe we can, if it's fine with you guys with Bill, I mean, we can take that conversation offline, because one of the things with redacting is we'd have to go through each one and redact. That is time consuming, and it's just a matter of resources too. We don't have an admin assistant. So right now there's literally 4 of us doing this stuff. So we'd have to just chat about it. Theoretically, I don't think I could be wrong. As a practice, I don't believe the commission has ever just looked and reviewed complaints. Having said that, I don't think there's anything that would bar you from it, because this is your function, you're doing it through us. There is a confidentiality issue, but then I suppose you could argue on the flip side that when you hear a complaint appeal, you're getting that information as well, albeit in a closed session that's not open to the public. I think the piece of it that we'd have to figure out, and may take some time, is the administrative impact of it, right? Because it's just bandwidth and resources, and redacting them is not the easiest thing, because you have to go through the whole thing, and sometimes these aren't just, you know, paragraph submission. So you have to read through the whole thing and then see where anything pops up. So if I would suggest that maybe that's something we can talk through a bit more. I don't think we have an answer for you right now, but that would be my biggest concern, is what's the, how resource intensive is it, and can we get it to you in that way?
Are the, oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to ask, are there reasons for, like when it is not accepted, is a reason logged somewhere?
Yeah.
Like jurisdiction, was there somewhere that just says, a event occurred at jurisdiction?
So each one, when we creates a record in our system that we have, and each we go through it individually, and the reason that particular one was dismissed is logged in that record. But for this month, or March, we had 3 that were out of jurisdiction geographically, meaning whatever the issue was occurred someplace out that was not Arlington. We cannot accept that. But I often Google and say, well, here's wherever that is that this happened, try that place, or give you other resources or things. We have conversations with people and we provide them with information. There was one that was not timely, a couple of people who had issues that were not discrimination issues. There were other kinds of issues. They didn't have a claim. A couple of people decided not to proceed with their claim. Sometimes people decide they don't want to do that. A couple of people did not keep appointments that were given to them. We give them 3 or 4 opportunities to meet with us to talk about the claim. If they don't show up, they don't show up. So those are sort of the reasons that we end up not proceeding with drafting a charge and filing a claim. And so we can try to give you more information on every month about what those were, but we do keep track of it, and each case is handled individually. It's not just
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest that maybe at a minimum, maybe if it's not too work intensive, including maybe the general category of like dismissal reasons. So like if you have them categorized by out of jurisdiction.
I mean, that's in the report.
Oh, that's already there?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's under the closures section.
Okay.
If you go down there, then the administrative dismissal
List.
reasons are tracked there.
Okay.
So maybe that's helpful.
Angela, your hand's raised.
Yes, I have 2 questions, kind of along with what everybody's saying, and definitely don't want to pile on another request. But I am wondering if just the general criteria for why a case would be dismissed, we would have access to. So like a list, like you guys have said, timely. I'm wondering, what does that mean? Like, how much time do they have? Obviously jurisdiction, we understand that, but the specifics of the criteria that you're using, would that be something in general that we would be able to have access to?
Sure, that's in the ordinance. That's what the ordinance states. It's 180 days from the last date of the discriminatory act is something that's timely. So if it's been a year, it's just not timely. So that's what we base untimeliness on. It's in the ordinance. We follow what the ordinance says.
And the other criterias that you're using, are those also in the ordinance as well?
The ones that are jurisdictionally, if it's not something that's covered in the ordinance, then we don't have jurisdiction to take a claim on it. If they have not stated something that a basis that falls under the ordinance as their claim, then we don't have jurisdiction over it. If they're having some other kind of issue, and a lot of times people are just having things going on in their lives and they're not sure where to go, and they find our website and they fill out a form, that's fine. We're happy to talk to them. We're happy to try to guide them where they might be able to go. But yeah, everything that, if we dismiss it, it's because it isn't within the scope of the ordinance.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. This is more of my learning as well, but okay, sounds good.
Sure.
Wanda?
Yeah, I just have one more question on this. In terms of the timely issue and the 180 days, is that 0 exception, or are there certain circumstances where exceptions are made?
That's what the ordinance says, 180 days. So, it's not really within we don't have any way to make an exception on that. One of the things that we do sort of give, like if somebody submits their form to us through our system within 180 days, we will take that as the date that they submitted it, even if we're not able to get the charge drafted and signed, for a few more days, because it takes time to meet with someone and talk to them and draft it and all of that. But we give them that sort of, they got in the door in 180 days. But if they come in 200 days, it's too late. And that's just, unfortunately, that's just, and our website, has that, the ordinance is clear. So we have to follow what the ordinance is.
Thank you.
And Roland, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, I don't know whether the other members of the commission would find this this worthwhile, but maybe what might be a good idea is to have at one of the commission meetings, just maybe have Anna speak to the process. That
Sure.
is pretty much how, what happens, how these complaints pretty much come in, and maybe go through once a complaint comes in, what does the office do? How do they contact these people? How do they commence the investigation? Pretty much what they do there, how they put things together for consideration by the executive director. I don't think that I don't think members of the commission, new members of the commission, have actually gone through the process. So maybe it might be a good idea at one of the meetings to have someone speak to the process itself.
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments in relation to the appeals process or just appeals subject in general? If not, I guess we can move on to public comment. And I understand we do have some members of the public here. Yes, Sam, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Sorry, I'm not used to using Teams. But yeah, I'll go ahead and share what I got here. So, as y'all are surely aware, there's been an ongoing genocide of the Palestinians throughout the past nearly 80 years, though especially throughout the past 6 months. Of course, this genocide is well documented by an 84-page report that South Africa submitted to the International Court of Justice back in December, among other things. Over 30,000 Palestinians, as well as a number of humanitarian workers, have been killed by Israel with full support from the US and our tax dollars. And a number of our neighbors in Arlington, as well as throughout the DMV, have lost people that they know and love personally in Palestine. And especially considering that, Arlington is just across the river from DC, it would be really immensely valuable for the Arlington County Board to pass a ceasefire resolution. And also similar to our neighbors over in Alexandria, we would love the Human Rights Commission to assist with getting this passed along to a county board. I do have a draft some of us worked on. I sent it to Anna, but I can send it. I'll post it in this chat as well. And then I'll also mention, I know a lot of municipalities across the country who've pushed for these resolutions have been told, that local governments, quote unquote, don't weigh in on international affairs. But I am aware that Arlington County Board has weighed in on various international affairs. For example, a proclamation of Argentina National Day back in March 2017, proclamation of National Vietnam War Veterans Day in March 2019, Peruvian National Day in July 2019, which included a reference to Peru's Declaration of Independence. Similar situation for Ecuador National Day in August 2019, and then also a resolution in support of Ivano-Frankivsk, I think is how it's said, the Arlington sister city in Ukraine. We are condemning an attack from Russia on it. And then the next month, the proclamation of Bangladesh Independence Month. So I saw that clearly, the Arlington County Board has weighed in on international affairs, and it's extremely important that they do so again this time. And we'd really love some assistance from the Human Rights Commission in getting an immediate and permanent ceasefire resolution passed along to them. Thanks. That's all I got.
And Sam, just a follow-up question or two. Have you presented this to the county board during their public comment time, or to individual county board members?
Yeah, well, this is the first I'm doing it, but I believe someone by the name of Dan has done it with a couple of members as well as at meetings. But I'm going to be on more of them to speak of this.
Could I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sam, thank you for bringing this very important topic to our attention. It's actually something that I was going to introduce at in this forum as well, because I think it's an important one that we need to take a look at. It's within the purview of human rights, certainly. I'd like to hear from other board members on this, on other commissioners rather. Keep saying board members, commissioners on this, because I do think that this is something that, definitely should be considered. I know that DC is considering it. I know that other municipalities, in fact, have made statements, have made ceasefire resolutions and statements. So I do think it's something that we should consider. It doesn't have to be at this meeting, but I think that it should be on our docket.
Yeah, this is not at all related to Arlington County, unfortunately. So to the extent that Sam or anybody else wants to bring this issue up to the county board or other elected officials to see if they want to address this, I think that's one thing. But this is the Arlington Human Rights Commission. This is not happening in Arlington. It does not really concern Arlington.
Is it okay if I respond to that real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I have found past instances of the Arlington County Board weighing in on
we're not the county board.
Affairs. Sorry?
We're not the county board.
I understand, but it would still be immensely helpful to have the Human Rights Commission as it's done in Alexandria in helping us to pass this. And
Roland, your hand's raised. Oh, it might be raised from previous. Angela?
Yeah, Sam, can you just review again the specifics of the requests that you're asking and exactly what you're requesting of the Arlington Human Rights Commission and what the next step would be? If you could just kind of reiterate the request.
Yeah. So really it's pretty much to do, I mean, to be fair, I don't know everything within the extent of your powers and abilities, but really pretty much anything you can do to kind of help leverage a resolution along these lines to the county board. Because and as I mentioned in Alexandria, this is something they've been working on a lot through the Human Rights Commission, and I think it would have more traction for the county board if it were, passed along to somebody with an official position, which, I don't have in the local Arlington government. I mean, I am a resident, but I don't have a local position. So really anything you all can do to assist with it.
So Sam, I think I understand your ask, which is that you're bringing it to our attention to get our support. And they'll, it's not going to just be based on us. I'm sure you have others that will be weighing in on this, but you're basically coming to us as one source of support for this resolution. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And Wanda, is your hands raised?
Just, reiterating what Fatima mentioned, we don't have to make a decision now, but I'm interested in, learning more. I know Sam had mentioned that the Arlington County Board has weighed in on other international issues. So in terms of just learning more, hearing more from Sam, hearing more from Fatima, who said that she was going to bring this up as one of the discussion points as well. So I would like to learn more.
And sorry, I'll just add, I have typed up what I said as well, and we'll send it over in the chat for now.
Okay, I'm looking at oh, there's the chat. Okay, I see it. Okay.
And we can send this out through email to other members of the commission if we want to take time to look at it and then make a decision next meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Could we put it on the agenda for discussion at the next meeting?
Yeah, we can have that as a discussion item and send it out just for commissioners to have time to look it over. And yeah, I see another hand is raised. Hold on a sec. That is Paul.
Yeah, hi. I'm also, I'd like to second the motion that Sam made. I think this is a really the most urgent and huge and catastrophic human rights crisis in the world today. It has been definitely for the last 6 months, but also for many, many years leading up to this. It's been escalating to an incredibly tragic and horrific situation right now. And I just to add to, I agree with all the that was said, that, in terms of why it's important to not ignore this. As a Human Rights Commission, I think this is a key place where such human rights abuses or violations should be attempted to be addressed, at least. First of all, our tax money is supporting this genocide, tragically. This is illegal under international law, and under international law, all parties to the Genocide Convention, including the United States and every jurisdiction within the United States, is obligated to do everything reasonably possible to prevent a genocide, even before it fully happens, which I think it's pretty clear that it is happening right now. But even before it was happening, we were obligated to prevent it from happening before it happens, when we saw it coming, and many, many people did see it coming, including United Nations agencies, etc. So there are many reasons, including just the moral imperative that we need to stand up and not be silent in the face of genocide. When the genocide is over, it's too late. And then everybody says, oh, we should have done this, we should have done that. Now is the time to act. So I hope, I sensed some good discussion about it. I hope the Arlington Human Rights Commission will take it up and at least forward the concerns to the Arlington board. I think many Arlington County citizens don't feel they have easy access to the board, and going through a commission like the Human Rights Commission might help. There are people in Arlington with relatives who have been killed in Gaza, and including not just relatives, but many people who you have friends or acquaintances who have been killed in Gaza. So it's not that far away. We can't close our eyes. We can't pretend that we're uninvolved and have nothing to do with it. It's our tax money as well. So I appreciate anything you all can do to help with this, and I would be happy to assist with this in any way I can as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll just forward to the rest of the commissioners the resolution that Sam shared, and we can put it on the agenda for next meeting. Any other comments from members of the public? Catherine?
Bill?
Oh, yeah, Stephen, yeah, go ahead first.
Agenda for next month. Is this text in the chat, is this the actual resolution, or is this just, it sounds like it was just what the speaker's statement was.
Let's see the text in the chat.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, I just
so
copied
that's
over
the-
what I said, but above it, there's a link.
Oh, and the link is the resolution that you want the commission to.
I'll read it.
I
Yeah,
see
the
link.
resolution, he shared with, like Anna forwarded it to me right before this meeting, so I have access to it, so I can send it to everyone.
So is the resolution in the link that was provided? I
Yes.
don't. Okay, thank you. Trying to open up a new tab. Yeah. There
Okay.
it is. Okay. I see it.
And Catherine, you had your hand raised. Public comment.
Yes, good evening. I'd also like to make a public comment. I came here tonight for the simple reason that our government, yes, even yours, Mr. Krieger's, is abetting a clear and very obvious genocide. As a Jew, I know there is no greater crime and no greater threat to anybody. My neighbor's family in Gaza was slaughtered. Their home was blown up by an American bomb very early into the genocide. Then the place the survivors fled to was blown up with a second American bomb. This one split his mother into two pieces. It's possibly that one was paid for by the $17 billion our government just gave to Israel. Anyway, they had to bury her twice because they found her limbs the day after the burial of her torso. And when my neighbor and I last spoke a few weeks ago, only 3 of his family members were alive at that point. I don't know if his surviving cousins and nephew are still alive. I think it's pretty likely they might have been killed by maybe a bomb or a sniper or the forced starvation or disease by now. This commission must pass a ceasefire resolution if we want to hold onto any remnant of respect for human rights. Like the way we have allowed the bodies of our neighbors, families, and loved ones to pile up without objection is a disgrace. It would be deeply racist negligence to continue to devalue brown and black lives in this city with our silence. This silence is screaming to every member of the city that brown lives don't matter here, that Arab lives don't matter here, that Muslim lives don't matter here, that Palestinian lives, like my neighbors, do not matter here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I'm in complete support of the ceasefire resolution.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.
No, thank you.
I think that's all members of the public.
Right.
Somebody say something? Okay. So moving on from public comment, we have extensions on the agenda, but Gurjeet, there are no extensions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
No
So
extension.
no extensions. Okay, with that, are there any other subjects that any commissioners would like to raise or discuss? Roland?
First, let me see if I can take that down. Good. If we are going to have Callum to speak to be at the meeting next week, there is something that I would like to put on the agenda. And I must say, Bill, I don't want the agenda to be an agenda of so many items because it looks like we have a lot of items as well. So if we can get to this, that would be great. If we can't get to this, that would also be okay. But I would like to put on the agenda a recent letter that was sent by Arlington Equality, Equality Arlington, to the chair of the county board and to the county manager, and it dealt with the Arlington County Services for the LGBTQ plus community. The reason why I think it's relevant for this commission is because it has dealt with certain items on the Human Rights Campaign Municipality Index. This is a matter that the commission itself has been dealing with for several years. We had an equality task force to deal specific with this. And his letter addresses certain items that I think the commission as a whole should read, and that we should probably have, it would be very good for us to have a discussion on it. So I would like to add his letter to the agenda for at least review and possibly discussion by the members of the commission at the next meeting.
And Roland, could you share that letter through email with everyone?
Yeah,
Okay.
I will do that. Thank you.
Any other issues or comments anyone has before we adjourn? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
Aye.
All right. We are we are adjourned then. But yeah.